prison cell looks like the opposite of a business opportunity. The person inside cannot simply leave, and the government usually pays the bill. Yet behind the walls is a network of public budgets, private operators, healthcare providers, transport companies, phone systems, food suppliers, construction firms, electronic monitoring platforms, and reentry contractors. The latest complete national prison count shows 1.254 million people under state or federal prison jurisdiction at the end of 2023. Local jails held another 657,500 people at mid-year 2024. The Federal Bureau of Prisons alone received an enacted fiscal 2026 operating appropriation of about $8.1 billion. Meanwhile, two major correctional contractors, CoreCivic and GEO Group, reported a combined $1.32 billion in revenue during the first quarter of 2026. So, who makes money from incarceration? How do government contracts turn occupied beds into revenue? And is the prison industry really controlled by private prison companies? Most U.S. prisons and jails are publicly operated, but private businesses can earn money at almost every stage of the system. Before we begin, subscribe for weekly videos about business, economics, money, and the systems shaping everyday life. To understand the economics, we first need to separate three institutions people often combine: prisons, jails, and immigration detention. The system is larger than private prisons. Prisons generally hold people serving longer sentences under state or federal authority. Local jails usually hold people awaiting trial, serving shorter sentences, or being held for another agency. Immigration detention is civil detention administered through a separate federal system. According to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, the latest complete national prison count was 1,254,200 at year-end 2023. The latest preliminary jail data shows 657,500 people in local jails at mid-year 2024, with 7.9 million admissions during the preceding 12 months. But private prisons housed only part of that population. At year-end 2023, 88,600 people under state or federal correctional jurisdiction were held in privately operated prison facilities, about 7% of the total prison population. The private prison industry is significant, but it does not operate most American prisons. How government contracts create revenue? Private operators do not normally charge incarcerated people for a cell. Their customers are government agencies. Contracts may pay a daily amount for each occupied bed, a fixed monthly amount, or a combination of guaranteed and variable payments. This makes occupancy important. In the first quarter of 2026, CoreCivic reported an average compensated population of 57,243 across its safety and community segments, average compensated occupancy of 79.6%, and revenue of $116.53 per compensated person day. Its quarterly revenue reached $614.7 million, up 25.8% from a year earlier. GEO Group reported $705.2 million in first quarter revenue and projected full year 2026 revenue between $2.95 billion and $3.10 billion. They include detention centers, reentry facilities, transportation, monitoring, case management, and property services. The biggest growth area is not always criminal prisons. Immigration detention and supervision have become increasingly important to major contractors. CoreCivic reported $261.3 million in revenue from immigration and customs enforcement during the first quarter of 2026, almost double the year earlier amount. The company said higher federal revenue reflected facility activations, greater occupancy, and higher per diem rates. GEO also reported new immigration-related contracts, transportation work, and electronic monitoring services. Its intensive supervision and appearance program uses GPS devices, wrist-worn technology, mobile applications, and case management for people on the non-detained immigration docket. The businesses behind the walls. A prison or jail requires food, uniforms, beds, cameras, locks, medical care, medications, maintenance, transport, software, and communications. Some services are delivered by government employees. Others are purchased from contractors. Phone and video communication became controversial because families often paid high rates to stay connected. Federal law and FCC rules have since pushed rates downward. By 2026, revised federal caps limited many prison audio calls to 9 cents per minute, with different limits for jails based on size. Commissaries create another stream. People inside may buy approved food, hygiene products, and stationery using money placed in their accounts. Healthcare is another major cost center. Governments may contract with private companies for medical staffing, pharmacy, mental health treatment, or entire healthcare systems. Each contract creates a balance between controlling public costs and delivering adequate care. Prison labor and federal prison industries. The economics also include labor performed by incarcerated people. Federal prison industries, known as UNICER, is a government corporation, not a private prison company. It sells goods and services produced through federal prison work programs. For fiscal 2026, it set a sales goal of about $431 million and an operating income goal of $23.5 million. Supporters argue that work provides skills and structure. Critics focus on low compensation, limited choice, and whether buyers receive an unfair labor cost advantage. Prison labor is part of the correctional economy, but it is not the same as private prison ownership. Do private prisons really cost less? The argument for contracting is straightforward. A company may build or reactivate capacity faster, negotiate costs differently, and give governments flexibility when populations change. But comparisons are difficult. Facilities may hold different security levels, provide different medical services, or exclude costs that remain with government. Oversight, transportation, and emergency expenses can also remain public responsibilities. The incentive problem. The concern is not simply that companies earn profit. Governments routinely contract for roads, hospitals, technology, and defense. A contractor may be rewarded for filled beds and lower costs. The public needs safety, humane conditions, rehabilitation, accountability, and fewer people returning to custody. Those goals can conflict if contracts reward occupancy without strongly measuring outcomes, whether a facility is publicly operated or privately contracted. Transparent pricing, independent inspections, enforceable staffing standards, medical accountability, and measurable rehabilitation outcomes are essential. Without them, cost savings on paper can hide larger human and financial costs later. So, what is the multi-billion-dollar prison industry? It is not one secret corporation controlling every cell. It is a public system surrounded by private contracts. The government decides who is detained, sentenced, and funded. Private companies compete to provide facilities, staff, transportation, monitoring, technology, and services. That structure can create capacity. It can also create incentives that deserve constant scrutiny. Because when revenue depends on confinement or supervision, the public must ask more than, is this cheaper? It must also ask, is it safe? Is it humane? Does it reduce future harm? And who is accountable when it fails? If you enjoyed this video, like it, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more stories about business, money, and the hidden economics behind major industries. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.